Good morning, everybody. Up you get. Let's go. Let's rise and shine. We have much to do this morning, and I am glad to be spending it with you. I'd rather be in bed, but I mean, you can't stay in bed forever. Got to get up. Got to get moving. Got to get things happening.
Gotta get done.
Oh man, Jack is here with me, Jack Mutlante.
Good morning.
You good?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Stating the obvious, right? Cold, but what are you going to do? Just got to dress warmly and shut the fuck up.
Just get on.
Everyone's cold.
Yeah.
Everyone. I saw some guy like pushing one of those trolleys with all the cardboard and shit on it. And I was like, you think your life's difficult and it's horrible and it's cold and then you see that guy and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Get a little perspective.
Right.
Get over yourself.
So, what have I missed? We didn't do a show on Monday, so I'm catching up slowly on all the news. I see there's plenty coming out of America. I see Panyaza Lesufi is trying to get going here locally he's advertising jobs for people who want to work for the municipality. You want to be a traffic warder, you want to be a rubbish collector, you want to be a metropolis. There's all kinds of jobs available. So don't tell me you're unemployed and you can't find a job. Panyaza's trying to help you.
He's trying.
Huh?
He's trying. Go out there.
What must he do?
Sign up.
Spoon feed you? The best he can do.
Yeah, go up there. Sign up. We need a few more traffic officers.
Sure we do.
Yeah.
Ones that can actually do the job.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a big controversy, and I don't know why it's controversial because this thing wasn't even a thing 2 years ago. But like Mama Joy, who was the super fan that we would send to sports events, and it was part of the sports department under. No, who was the minister? Because they keep changing them. I think it was.
Was it before Figile? Or was it
after Figile? Used to be spokesperson, man. Somewhat disgraced. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you know, you can tell us in the comments. Because it really doesn't matter. It's very hard to kind of keep up with ministers, especially now that we've got so many. But Gayton has decided he's closing the floodgates on superfans. He's not paying for them to fly business class all over the world and attend sports matches because that's what most of us have to do. We have to earn that money ourselves to do that as like a treat. And only the richest of the rich can do it because it is unbelievably expensive. Our rand is worth nothing. Travel is expensive. And by the way, we'll check in on some travel. Hopefully some travel that isn't expensive in a short while. We'll do the window seat this morning. But this was a thing that became kind of part of what was pitched from the Department of Tourism up to a while ago. It wasn't sport, it was tourism that I think was behind that. Anyway, that's all finished now. Gayton says he's cutting he's chasing the pigs from the trough, cutting them loose.
The gravy train.
If Mama Joy wants to go to rugby or cricket or tennis or
she's gonna
soccer
have to
match,
pay for herself.
Right, she must pay for herself, like the rest of us.
Yeah,
frankly. And yes, it was Zizi Kwadwa. Thank you very much, Human Shield 777 and Morabit. Very good. So yeah, I think I'm liking Gayton more and more.
Yeah,
but it's controversial because some people are like, oh, but how can you cut Mama Joy loose? It's amazing how many people get used to the fact that someone is eating at the trough and that they're paying for it and that it's just, it's just something I have to pay for. You see this with people in their own personal finances. They're like, yeah, well, I've been paying that subscription for that channel or that thing that I don't even use, but I'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
I wonder why you're poor at the end of the month.
And it's not like Mama Joy was in those stadiums by herself. Like there are tons of South Africans that were willing to pay the full amount to go and attend these things. So now
her job
Mama Joy is like,
her job was like the stereotypical luxury job that nobody needs.
Oh yeah.
There are already people there who are big fans. Otherwise, why would they be there?
Yeah.
Because if you asked me, for example, you said to me, you will give me free tickets to the Rugby World Cup final last year, you'd be wasting your time. Because I would not be the right person to send.
Yeah.
And even if you paid for everything for me, which would be very nice of you, I would not enjoy it the way that perhaps a real fan would. Now, I'm not doubting that she's a real fan, but I think that there are better people for these jobs, like the ones who are actually going to sacrifice like 100,000 rand of their own money to go and see something. I mean, that's a real fan. You're putting your money where your mouth is.
I'm actually not entirely convinced that she understood what was going on in some of these sports.
Well, she dressed up. That's the most important part.
Yeah.
You know, we live in a world where as long as you pretend, as long as you perform, then you must be the real thing.
Yeah, and there's a stage for everyone these days.
Absolutely. Everyone's a star.
Everyone is a star. Everyone is special.
So many stars, no one to watch them. Athletes can barely afford to travel, says Hamin. They have to beg for money, sort them out first.
There we go.
Hey, didn't Mama Joy find a French squeeze at one of those paid-for trips? The frog leg face can pay for her. Sure. People are angry. Listen, it's more of a concern to me that we have so many people who are, you know, when Panyaza Lesufi advertises all these posts in the municipality, that's not him trying to create jobs. That is him using taxpayer money. Your money. Yours. Remember when they come and they take your paycheck and they just tear off a piece of it at gunpoint and you don't have an option? That's where that money comes from. So never be under the illusion that this money is just somehow manufactured on some magical tree somewhere, that they've got good muti in government, that they can figure out how to make money out of nothing. It comes from you.
Yep.
So
someone has to foot the bill.
Yeah. On that note, maybe if superfans washed the sports stars' underwear and traveled cargo class, then we would be happy with them, says Vyasan.
That's a bit dramatic.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, if someone asked me to wash underwear in order to get a free trip, I'd say you need to take a free trip and shove it up your ass.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Put it exactly where that underwear is supposed to be.
So here is a picture of me leaving the house this morning in all of my clothes because it was so cold. This is how I felt. And I still feel like I wasn't wearing enough layers. Take a look at this. Yeah. When James gets his act together.
Well, James, my boy.
Hey, Gareth and Jack says, burn. I'm sure that the man pushing the trolley can do with some of the money spent on Mama Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, Burn, you got to go and find that person. And then you know what? You're going to find 200 others. And suddenly you're not going to have very much to give any of them.
Yeah.
So actually this socialism you dream of, it doesn't exist either. So crap idea, Burn. We're going to scratch that, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I just think the fact that guy that you were talking about with the trolley, it's an indication of systematic breakdowns of our systems, essentially.
Is it?
Or it is.
Or is it like somebody who sees a gap in the market and fills it?
Sure. But, working conditions are essential to a happy life. Like, look at us now.
No, look.
We're sitting in these well-lit studios.
I think we need people to remove. In fact, I would love another 100,000 people to be employed in tidying up Johannesburg and the other big cities.
Because it's rather filthy.
And if these guys are picking up the stuff and if they're gathering it together instead of making more of a mess, and that the jury's still out on that, then I can understand how someone else would be paying them for it. There are places that collect this waste, they compress it, they then sell it onto the recycling plants or whatever. So there is a gap. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing that there are people filling that gap. And we can argue about whether or not that's dignified work. But I mean, in an economy where you really don't have a lot of options, dignified work as opposed to no work at all, I'd rather take the undignified work than be absolutely dirt poor and not be able to feed myself. So
starvation kind of cancels a lot of options.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, and I was telling a friend of mine this over the weekend that a lot of people would be surprised with what they'd be willing to live with. You know what I mean?
Or live without.
Yeah. I mean, we are of the notion that because you have become accustomed to a certain kind of lifestyle that you can't change.
Right.
Meanwhile, you could do with a lot less, like a whole lot less.
Absolutely. I don't know, about being deprived, but I do remember when we were growing up, we went through a stage where my parents had very little money, and the only decoration that my brother and I had in our tiny little room was like the Coke cans for that World Cup.
Oh yeah,
that was it, and we tried to collect them all. but it took us weeks. So, I mean, and did we love those things?
Yeah.
As a result of the fact that we didn't have very much.
Yeah.
Anyway. So many interesting questions and things that are coming up. I mean, another thing that's in the news that I really am not that interested in is Judge Hlophe.
Oh, not again. No.
Yeah, I mean, so what you missed if you did pay attention to this and maybe you only caught the tail end of it is that Judge Hlophe has been put on the Judicial Services Commission, one of the parliamentary commissions. This one appoints judges. And he's on there along with Glynis Breitenbach and Julius and some other people. But it turns out the only three parties that opposed Judge Hlophe, who's the first judge in South Africa to be impeached, okay? So he's the only judge in South Africa.
By the very same organization, by the way.
By the EFF and MK, ANC.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how quickly the wheel turns.
Yeah.
But you don't have to believe any politician. Believe their actions. When Musi Maimane and Songezo Zibi and all these guys said, we want honest, decent leadership, but then they don't vote against Judge Hlophe, you got to ask yourself, like, are these serious people?
No.
Clearly not.
Nope.
But I haven't really been paying a lot of attention to it. I just saw it on social media yesterday. And I mean, anyone who's going to bother to watch like Parliament, then you really deserve a job in Parliament. It's like the superfans. If we're going to send you there, you really have to love it.
Like I'd much rather watch paint dry. I imagine there's a whole lot more happening on the wall than watching Parliament. It's just, and to be honest, like I feel like I'm politicsed out.
Oh yeah,
like I've had enough.
Even with American politics and now French and British, and so it was a busy week. I mean, listen.
And yesterday, a friend of mine, like he when someone talks to you and you're trying to figure out if it's really them, it's like, no, I think an alien must have taken over your body.
What happened?
No, this guy's like, he genuinely says to me, I would rather have anybody instead of Trump. Biden or Harris is a great option outside of Trump. And I'm like, okay, but wait, we need to drill down to the bottom of this because I need to understand what you're saying. He was trying to make the point that controlling a dementia patient is a lot easier than controlling an egomaniac.
Yeah, but who's controlling him?
That was my biggest
This doesn't bother him?
It didn't bother him at all. He said, you know what? All governments have shadow governments and what, it's just the lay of the land. That's how we live. I'm like, bro, you're not making any sense whatsoever. At the end of the conversation, what I discovered was he just has a really deep dislike for Trump.
Yeah, it's called Trump derangement syndrome, and it is an actual mental condition that is held by very many people in America and quite a few people in the rest of the world. It's kind of
silly.
It's disturbing that also that condition prevents those people from ever being able to have a rational conversation about him. So I read this brilliant point of view that was put across by Gad Sad, who's been a guest on my show before. He's a Canadian professor. He's written a brilliant, a series of books that are all worth reading. The Parasitic Mind is his most recent one. He says here, a fundamental question I ask people when I'm gauging their intellectual honesty is to ask them to describe what the evidence would need to look like in order for them to alter a position that they hold. So if, for example, you are a Trump derangement syndrome sufferer, what would the conditions be of Donald Trump being rehabilitated in your mind? If you say there are none, then you cannot be intellectually honest and you are deranged. It's that simple. If he's the orange Hitler and there's just nothing you can say about him, you can't tell me anything about his policies, about what he stands for, what he might dislike, malike, the way he treats his kids. There's a whole thing on the internet this morning about Baron Trump. And what a great kid this guy is.
Yeah.
He speaks like 5 languages. He qualified and graduated from university last year. He quietly goes about his business. He's had to put up with a lot because his father is the most famous man in the world. And this kid is like an exemplary person. But nobody talks about that. Hunter Biden is a cokehead who leaves his gun and his laptop lying around and has stolen bags of money from the Ukraine and China, and we're worried about Trump's kid, who seems to me to be better than your kid in a lot of ways. So you figure that one out. Anyway, Gad goes on. He says, with that in mind, is there any reality that would cause the people who occupy a certain point of view to change their mind? If they say no, they're not intellectually honest. So you got to, with this friend of yours, you just got to go to him and say, listen, dude, is there anything that Donald Trump could do to convince you that he wasn't Orange Hitler? And if someone is a major, Biden hater, if there's such a thing, or they just don't like senile people with nuclear codes,
I mean,
completely unreasonable point of view. But if they did have a problem with someone who's addled and whose brain is in severe decline, if they have a problem with that guy being in charge of the nuclear codes, and they explain a point of view that might arise where even that would be better than some alternative, and where they're being rational and they're taking your point of view seriously, cool, then you can talk to them. Otherwise, you're talking to a mental patient. And I just think that so many people are not being put into mental institutions, and they're allowed on social media now. Social media is like the big mental institution that everybody seems to flock to when they're having emotional problems. I mean, even Byrne, who we criticized in the comments earlier here, she says about the homeless person that she was talking about earlier, the trolley guy. She's like, oh, well, why don't we take the money from the sports fans and give it to him? And I called her a communist. She says, I accept your point, Ree, the trolley man. It came from an emotional rather than intellectual place, from a very wet and windy Cape Town. Well, that's the problem, Byrne. That's why women shouldn't have a vote, is because you're emotional rather than intellectual. I saw something so funny this week. There's the other name that keeps popping up all the time is Bill Gates, because he interferes in everything that hasn't got anything to do with him.
Sure.
I don't know what his problem is. Like, the guy has made billions of dollars. He managed to get divorced from that wife of his. Lucky her, not even lucky him. And he's just incapable of keeping his hands out of health issues. Like, he's not a doctor, and he's telling everybody about health issues the whole time. And Joe Rogan said on a clip again that I saw this morning, he's like, why would you take health advice from a guy who looks like shit? Because Bill Gates does. He looks like shit. He's got this pot belly. He's got this pale skin. He looks like he's never been to a gym in his life. Couldn't lift a heavy thing if he tried. Why should we listen to him?
And in the vein of what Bill Gates is doing, I think I'm going to start being a high jump coach. That works. I think, given the fact that you don't need any qualifications these days, you and
you're so tall.
You don't need to be an authority on anything. Listen, I'll teach you how to jump over the highest mountain. Listen, I've just decided. My body has been perfectly put together to teach high jump. That's what I'm doing.
Hameen says the best is that they'll never be able to vote again if Trump becomes president. He didn't do it when he was, but this time, he was the most dangerous president ever. That's why he got America into so many wars.
Yes,
0 wars. He was so dangerous that he fired off all the nukes. Zero nukes. He was so dangerous that he made new enemies for America all over the world. More friends than enemies.
Yep.
Anyway, I mean, the economy was better. America was more respected. Russia wasn't invading other parts of the world willy-nilly. Tell me.
Didn't he sign some sort of, I guess it's treaty of some sort in the Middle East?
Oh, yeah, the Abraham Accords, not just some treaty.
The most
breakthrough and fundamental chance for peace in Middle East history. Makes the Camp David Accords look like a preamble to all of this. And it was. The Abraham Accords, probably the closest that we have ever been to normalizing relations between Israel and its neighbors, but no credit on that.
And just so you know, whether you believe Trump was the person who was the brains behind all of this thing or not, it doesn't matter. What we know for a fact is that his team, during his administration, they got a lot of shit done. And if you are a proof positive person like I am, I'd rather look at the evidence.
Anyway, interested in what was happening in France. Now they can't figure out how to make a government. Surprise, surprise, because the communists have nothing to do with Macron.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to go hard left. Marine Le Pen wants nothing to do with the communists, so they can't form a government. There are all these smaller parties, the Greens and so on, can't figure out where they fit in. So France is in a situation where they just can't, no one's going to be the government. Great, you asked for this.
Yeah, you did. Time will tell, though. It'll be very
sense.
interesting. You know, it's always hilarious to me when I see first world countries go through what we term third world problems.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's lovely.
It is lovely.
It is lovely.
Just reminds you that actually humans are dumb all over the world.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here's that. Have you got that picture of me leaving the house this morning yet, James? We're going to have to wait another half hour. Okay, here it is. Take a look. I mean, I've kind of, gone past the punchline here on this one, so I don't know if it's even going to be funny anymore.
It's high fashion. That's what I can guarantee you.
Yeah, all right. I don't know if I'm wearing enough layers in this picture. How's that, huh? First of all, like, who goes to a fashion show and looks at that and goes, yeah, I want to wear that to the next dinner I go to, right?
It's this postmodern artistic types. Like, what is that? It looks like a bunch of scarves.
It does look pretty warm.
Okay.
I've seen some homeless people in Joburg who look just like that.
Exactly. My thing is, let someone call him. How is he answering that phone? Like, if you have to pay for something, this is the most impractical outfit I've seen in a long time.
I would say that they've designed this meticulously, and one of those folds of fabric is actually an armhole.
Yeah.
And then one of them is a pocket, but you just have to know which is which.
Ugh.
I'll tell you what, no one can stab you in that outfit. That's another good reason to wear it. Can't be stabbed. You won't get cold. You can store all kinds of, that guy's probably, if you go into a shop, you could shoplift the whole shop and they won't know when you walk out. You're like, this is how I walked in, walking out. And this is the dog. By the way, this is my mother's very old Jack Russell, who has the same idea and was not happy to be waking up yesterday morning. I took a picture of her. Take a look at this. Poor little dog. So cold.
Oi.
Right?
But that's a clever little dog, too.
It's a clever little dog.
Very clever little dog.
I mean, just look at that facial expression. She's like, I'm not coming out of here. It doesn't matter what happens. Yeah. Gavin says that would have been funny, but like 30 minutes ago, fire James. Oh, man. All right. So a couple of things that we need to get into this morning, and I've got a long list of them. I know you do too.
Yeah.
Why do you want to talk about cannabis in South Africa, Jack? What's your dog in this fight?
Okay. So let me get this out of the way. I do partake in, cannabis products. I was just actually looking at how much money people can stand to make in this country now that it has been decriminalized.
Yeah, but I think that bus is left already. I mean,
yeah, it have. And
if you don't have a farm already and you don't have a factory to package the stuff, whether it's CBD oil or whether you're selling actual weed, you don't have the manufacturing process and the packaging process and your distribution all locked down. I think it's too late now.
I don't think so. Like, here's what I'm saying. When industries start popping up, gaps also start showing up, right?
Sure.
So it needs a little bit of innovation. We need a couple of people to step in and come up with great ideas of how I can quickly get my joint when I need it. You know what I mean? Like, so you could have logistics, for argument's sake. You might not be the farmer yourself directly,
okay,
but you can fill the gap. You can get the product from the farmer to the end user, and was interesting
like a dealer.
to me. Yeah, you could be, but a legal dealer. You could say you're selling pharmaceuticals. It's a bigger word than drugs, but
dealer.
You know what I mean? It's
right.
legal.
So okay.
So
you're not reinventing the wheel here.
Yeah. No.
Dealer.
You get in where you fit in. So the formal cannabis industry has the potential to create 25,000 jobs and could be worth around 28 billion rand.
Is that according to you?
No. This is according to Business Tech.
Okay.
So just hearing those kind of numbers, considering the unemployment in this country and all of the talk about how weed is a gateway drug and all of that stuff. So we're dispelling myths, we're getting people jobs. I think it's a great thing.
I'm totally in favor. I've said from the beginning, if you are the kind of person who likes weed, then you should be able to have it without being pestered by the police.
Yeah.
If you're the sort of person who can run a serious farming operation, you should be allowed to grow it and sell it as a cash crop. Even if you're just a subsistence farmer in the Eastern Cape, you should be able to grow it as a subsistence crop and sell it. I don't have any problem with that. I personally don't partake. I don't like the smell of the stuff at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about me. It's about everybody else doing the thing that they love. And if you want to do it, you go for it. Something's going to kill you. May as well be something you like.
You know what? If you're going to choose a way to go out, I think select one that you will be happy with.
Right. So I'm actually in support of everything you've said.
I love it.
Plus, what if you become a huge, big mogul? What if you become the next big thing in the weed business? And you end up running like a huge operation? It's like you become Weed South Africa. Can you imagine that?
That'd be great.
You have to buy your own private jet. And
then you put the plant there on the wing and stuff. So people they know when you show up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You mean the leaf or the actual plant that you burn through the engines, make the whole country high? You imagine that?
That would be great.
You light it up in front of the engines, and just everywhere you fly, there's like these smoke trails, and you just make the whole country high.
Everyone would be so happy. We'd be happy and hungry in like 30 minutes. It would be great.
Have you seen Elon Musk's jet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's very funny. So the big thing, like if you know really, really rich people, this is actually the flex, is that you have your jet done in your livery. You have it painted the color you want it.
Okay.
You have it, in the style you want it. So if you're really, really rich, you don't just have a jet, but you have a jet that you can decorate the outside and the inside of the way you want. So it's personalized to the nth degree. Here's Elon's jet. Take a look at this. This is what it looks like. I'm a little bit jealous. When I saw this, I thought, wow.
Ooh.
It's got X on it, which is his obsession and his company as well. It's black. It's got a big red X on it, and it says GFY, which is obviously his call sign. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome.
I mean, that is the ultimate FU to the world.
That's
owning a jet
flex.
like that, right? I think that's magnificent.
Ooh. I'd put like a middle finger on the underside.
Maybe there is, for all we know.
Maybe.
And then speaking of Elon, he was at a black coffee party this week. Have you seen the footage?
Yeah. I'm a massive black coffee fan.
So here it is. This was posted on the internet yesterday. Drake was there.
He's
Lionel Messi was there, and Elon Musk was there. What a party this must have been.
Yeah, crazy.
And Elon is just, he's dancing on his own. He's like in the crowd, but he's having I just think this is what it means to enjoy life. And the best thing is that you don't have to be Elon Musk to do it. You don't have to be the world's richest person. You don't have to have that jet that we just showed you now. You could just go out this weekend and just have a good time. Doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. Party with your friends. Go and do something cool. Let loose. Stop worrying about what everyone thinks of you. Look, he's just dancing. Take a look at this. But Elon, Lionel Messi, Travis Scott, Black Coffee,
Drake.
I mean, what a party.
Yeah.
And, just dance like no one's watching. Because actually, the people who are just jealous. Jealous down.
Yep.
Get on with it. Enjoy yourself. Do your thing. All right. Just to make you feel worse about how cold it is, I found the worst Dutch song in the world. This also came up on my feed yesterday. And I just thought, here's this Dutch guy with the most terrible teeth you've ever seen. He's like, this is like your stereotypical, if you had to imagine a Dutch man, not a Dutchman, but a Dutch man.
Yeah.
This is what I see. And he's singing a song about going on vacation to a hot country, which kind of sounds good right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't need Elon money to be partying like Elon. Maybe you'll find a place like that this weekend to go and party. And it doesn't matter how old you are, whether you are, I mean, he has like 20 kids, Elon. You don't see him complaining, oh, who's going to look after the kids? He goes and has a party. He wants to have a good time. He goes and has a good time. But you do need quite a lot of money if you want to go and travel to somewhere where it's hot. And remember, we've got the window seat coming up with travel.co.za too. So stick around for that. But take a look at this. This is a great song, and this will be stuck in your head all day. You ready?
Ik wil naar een warm land, even op vakantie. Lekker bakken in de zon, daarop wil ik garantie. Ik hou van lekker eten, dranken van de vrouwen. Ga ik naar dat landje waar ik zo van ben gaan houden.
What did I just watch?
Vakantie in een warm land. Bakken in the zon, right? Baking in the sun, drinking, eating. You gotta love it.
That old man is living his best life.
He's also having a good time.
He's having a good time.
So the only thing, here's the point, everybody, and this is not some motivational track that we're on this morning. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah. YOLO.
You only have a few lifetimes. You only have a few hours, months, years in this life. Don't make them count.
Yeah.
You know, do be miserable and unhappy.
And from all the old people that I know, they'll tell you that it's all the things you didn't do that you regret.
That's exactly right.
Rather than things that you did.
Correct.
It's always better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission, guys.
Spot on.
Like,
exactly.
Ik wil naar een warm land, even op vakantie. Lekker bakken in de zon, daarop wil ik garantie. Ik hou van lekker eten, dranken van de vrouwen. Ga ik naar dat landje waar ik zo van ben gaan houden.
Okay, I see even James, the producer, thinks it's so funny he had to play it twice. You like that flex? Okay, they love it. The producers love it.
Absolutely love it.
So now that song's going to be stuck in your head all week. But you know what? Share it with your friends. Make it stick in their heads as well.
Yeah, yeah.
What I love about that guy is he's like, he can't even get onto that thing, whatever it is. He needs help up onto that thing. He picks up a big barrel of beer. Guy's having a good time. I love it.
Great time.
He
actually looks like someone who took the time to read one of Robin Sharma's books. By the way, that interview was great.
Yes. Oh, let me tell you while we're talking about Robin Sharma. So in case you didn't notice over the last 2 or 3 days, the old Cliff Central app has now become the podcast party app.
Yep.
Which includes African Analysis, the Burning Platform, and other shows, and the Robin Sharma interviews on there as well. We will be launching a brand new Real Network app very, very soon. We're in the process of doing that as we speak. In the meantime, you can go and listen at therealnetwork.com/listen. You can go and find that. Obviously, if you're listening now, you know that already.
Yeah, you do.
Or you just get us on YouTube, whatever you prefer, because on YouTube, you get to see it as well as hear it.
Yeah.
So whichever you prefer. You know, we're trying to make things easier for you, not harder. Okay. So there are a couple of like weird things going on at the moment. They've just launched what they're calling Joe Biden's big boy press conference today. Have you heard about this?
Please tell me that's not the actual name of the thing.
All right. So the official White House communications team have put out a notice this morning that Joe Biden will be answering more than 2 questions at the press conference today. And they're calling it, because he's answering more than 2 questions, they're calling it a big boy press conference. This is like someone in that team needs to be fired. Isn't that the dumbest thing you can do? Why would you call it that? Like, it's so demeaning. It's like,
it is so demeaning.
A big boy. You're a big boy. You know, this is what you say to a
toddler.
Even after 5, you say big boy to a kid, and they're like,
"Hey, man,
what the hell's wrong with you?"
I mean, I feel like they're doubling down on what Jill Biden said right after the debate.
Yes, where she
You
went,
answered every
you did
question.
so well, Joe. We're so
Hercules,
pleased.
Hercules.
Exactly, Hercules. That's what I was thinking too.
Oh, man.
It's bad, right? So here,
That is
just
horrible.
To prove I'm not making this up, here's a clip from Fox News where they talk about this. So we're not giving you misleading information. We're not the source of dis and misinformation. Take a look.
White House officials are saying President Biden is going to host a press conference on Thursday afternoon. All that they'll tell us is that it's going to be more than the traditional 2 questions when foreign leaders are in town. They are describing it at the White House as a big boy press conference. Neil.
A big boy press conference seems to imply that he's going to take more than just a couple of questions. And the pressure would be on him because it would only be him answering.
Well, one way to stop getting people to focus on him being 81 and possibly having issues with his acuity is just to call him a big boy.
That is
very bad marketing.
So stupid.
I thought that they used to have the world's best spin doctors in the White House, like these really clever people who could find a way of turning anything negative into something positive. We were misled. And it was probably because we didn't have social media before. We were led to believe that there were these brilliant people who were so much cleverer, Jack, than you and me, and that were super strategic.
Yeah.
And that always had a plan and that were going to figure out stuff long before it occurred to us so that they could package it in the right way and sell it to us. I've been told this my whole life, that there are brilliant, brilliant people in this world who are so on the ball that if you even sit in the room with them, you just feel stupid. I got to tell you, there are no such people. Spin does not work. You are as smart as the next guy. And even if you think you're not, you probably aren't that far behind. You just don't have to believe that anymore. Like if anything is proven by this, it is that there are no brilliant, brilliant people. And if they were, they're certainly not employed in the higher levels of politics or business, because some of them are absolutely astonishingly dumb and dull.
Yeah. So
big boy I even feel sorry for those guys from Uber Eats who drop off your stuff sometimes and then they ride those big boy scooters. Like it's just demeaning you. Oh, you're a big boy. You're riding a big boy scooter. Ooh, big boy press conference. Woo. Yay. Right.
So again, on our motivational arc this morning, if you're an idiot, just don't worry. There are plenty of them out there. You are not alone.
And you could rise to the very top.
Listen, you could be the cream of the crop. You could be the idiot of all idiots, and people will continuously praise you. In fact, they'll walk around trying to make the case that you are intelligent. Who knows?
You could fail upwards, like Kamala Harris.
Oy.
I mean, she has no skills to speak of. She's never done anything good. She's done nothing impressive in her life.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That woman's a broken record. What does she keep saying? Unburdened by what?
Unburdened by things that... No. She goes... Oh, God. I've actually got it here somewhere. Hang on. Let me just find it because it's so bad.
It is so
I'll play
bad.
it for you. Oh, it's fantastic. I love it.
So bad. Like Kamala Harris.
Unburdened by what has been.
If Black Americans were to be. If they were going to be honest.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time. Right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance
in the passage of time.
In terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
Yeah. Unburdened by what has been. Anyway, I mean, the thing that drives me crazy about her is she has just spent her entire career failing upwards.
Yeah.
So every time she fails at a job, she gets given a job that's even more important. And when she fails at that, she keeps climbing the ladder. She started off as a state prosecutor in San Francisco. She was terrible at that. Then she became a senator for California. Then she became a presidential candidate. Then she became vice president. And now she is a ball hair away from being president because Joe Biden looks like he could kick the bucket any minute.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to be our president. Oh. Do you remember when she and Joe won the election and she went, "We did it, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
We did it, Joe." She always sounds like she's giving birth.
It's bad.
What's going on there?
It is terrible.
Anyway, look, again, you know what? You have every reason to be proud of yourself and to smile and to feel confident that you can go out there and kill in the world where someone like that can be the second most powerful person on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Things are not that tough, guys.
Now, in fact, after Kamala Harris, I don't want to hear Black Americans say they don't have privilege.
I mean,
this woman is the poster child for Black privilege, right?
Mm.
Failing upwards like that.
That's right.
I mean, come on.
And then they get upset. By the way, America's very, very torn apart by the fact that if you refer to Kamala Harris as a DEI candidate, in other words, diversity, equity, inclusion, that she was basically given the job because she's a Black woman, which is true. Joe Biden even said, "I had to choose a Black woman because for some people that's more important than whether she's good at the job or not."
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then when you point that out, you're the racist. So apparently now you must just pretend that she's there on merit.
As if listening to the woman tells you that she's not. Like, come on. We know.
So, you know what? If you're going to be a DEI or an affirmative action candidate, then you got to own it. And you say, "I'm only here because I'm a woman, I'm Black. Vote for me because I'm Black and I'm a woman." It's enough.
Yeah, it is.
I failed upwards so far. Don't stop me now. To quote the Queen song.
I'm on a roll.
You know? Yeah, come on, let's go. And then somebody says, Slippery Pickle, she's Indian. She's not even Black. Yeah, that's true. But she's claimed African-American because it's very convenient.
Hey, man, people, we've got eyes. She's Black, okay? Like, she can say whatever she wants, but we've got eyes.
I just love that when it suits someone of mixed race, then they're very Black.
Oh, yeah.
And when it suits them, they're very white.
Mm-hmm.
These are the same kind of people who during apartheid were like, no, I'm white.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as apartheid ended, I'm Black.
I'm Black, yeah.
I'm Black as the ace of spades.
You flip-flop us. Yeah. Listen, and one of these good days, all of that shit's going to catch up to you, just so you know.
Carl DeSantis says, can you imagine Kamala Harris negotiating with Putin or Xi Jinping?
Oof.
I really want to make a deal with, they'll shoot themselves in the head. So maybe it's a good idea. It could be an interesting strategy. Where are those brilliant spin doctors when you need them, right?
I'm not sure I'm ready to live in a world without Vladimir Putin just yet. Not just yet. Not just yet.
Percy says she must hawk a good tour.
Yeah.
Well, if you do go back into her history, there was a guy called Willie Brown who was mayor of San Francisco. And Willie Brown had a nice relationship with Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Back in the day. This is not controversial, by the way. Everybody knows it. It's all over the internet. You could just Google Kamala Harris, Willie Brown. You'll see for yourself. I'm not making it up. It's not me trying to cast aspersions on the sanctity and the decency and the virtue of Kamala Harris. You can go and look this up yourself.
Yeah, those kids had a good old time back there.
Anyway, right, we've climbed into enough people this morning. I reckon what we've got to do is turn our attention back to that guy from Holland, you know, vakantie in een warm land.
Even naar een warm land, even op vakantie. Lekker bakken in de zon, daarop wil ik garantie. Ik hou van lekker eten, dranken van de vrouwen. Ga ik naar dat landje waar ik zo van ben gaan houden.
All right, it's time for the window seat this morning, which is brought to you, of course, by travel.co.za. And we're joined on the line by Achi Adams, who's been on the show before. In fact, the last time Achi was on, he gave us some pretty damn good advice about where we could go in the world on a budget. Because, I mean, who's just got extra money lying around? Not even Mama Joy anymore. And Achi helped us by figuring out exactly where we could go. He gave us all the packages. He gave us pictures. He gave us video. We had Egypt in there. We had Bali in there. We had some incredible destinations from the sublime to the cheap. And this morning he is back and he's going to tell us a little bit more about business travel and the business travel show in Europe, which we'll get to in just a short while. That's with travel.co.za. I know you're going to go fetch him, James. Yes, you just loved that Dutch guy, didn't you? Yeah, he loves it. Like James has made that his like screensaver on his phone. Oh, this is really talk about travel. There's somewhere you don't want to go. A faraway planet known for its dire weather and also smells of rotten eggs, according to a new study, is called HD 189733b. It has scorching temperatures and precipitation akin to raining glass. So it sounds really nice.
Wow.
It's just so nice there.
How is that for a travel destination?
They used the James Webb Space Telescope, hydrogen sulfide, which makes up most of its atmosphere. That is the stuff that smells of rotten eggs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In a stink bomb, hydrogen sulfide.
Yeah.
Great. So HD 189733b, not a great place to find yourself. So it rains glass. It emits a huge pong, according to researchers. The gas is emitted during farts as well. Good to know. A planet of farts. This is where you would send your worst enemies, right? If we did develop space travel to the point where we could go anywhere in the galaxy in a second, like in Star Wars or Star Trek, this would be a hell of a place. Like you buy your ex or your mother-in-law.
Ooh, no.
Or your boss a holiday on this planet. Hey, here's a free ticket to HD 189733b.
No, actually, that sounds like the perfect place to take corrupt politicians.
Planet that smells of farts.
Yeah.
So finding it here is one of the first detections of hydrogen sulfide on an exoplanet or a planet outside of our solar system. Although hydrogen sulfide is one of the gases that indicate distant planets might be home to alien organisms, researchers aren't searching for life there because it's a gas giant like Jupiter, so it's too hot for anything to live on it.
Okay.
They do say finding hydrogen sulfide here is a step towards understanding how planets form, but this is not a great one. If you're going to go somewhere, this is not the one to visit.
I believe it was Einstein who said God doesn't play dice with the universe.
That's correct.
I think he did on that day. For that planet?
I think the fact that a planet that smells of farts exists is proof enough that there are always more horrible things in the universe than you could have imagined.
Yeah.
Planets of farts. I mean, we love a little bit of toilet humor on this show. We're not above it. You know, we don't think we're special. But I'll tell you, a whole planet that smells of farts.
Yeah, that sounds like overkill.
That's pretty rough. So HD 189733b, make a note of it somewhere in your calendar. One day, Achi will be here to tell us, yeah, we can send you there.
Yeah.
It'll be like a spite present. It'll be the kind of present that you give someone you really don't like.
Yeah.
Hi, Achi.
Very well, thanks.
Nice to see you,
guys.
man.
Good morning. Good,
yeah,
man.
you good?
Very well, thanks. But tired, but yeah, good.
And lekker cold, hey?
Flip, it's freezing cold, eh? Last few days of cold. The water pipes are frozen.
Yeah. Did you have water this morning?
No, I had water, but you know what? The washing takes forever to dry as well.
Yeah,
it's so little sunlight.
It freezes solid on the line for starters. But there's always a worse place, like the planet of farts or the Free State. Right? I mean, the Free State's freezing. They've got snow all over the place.
I saw -7 on TikTok.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, it's very bad.
Ugh.
Now, last month, Monet came in here and he told us about the big show that you guys had in Europe, right? The business travel show Europe.
That's right, yeah.
Right. And he told us about the plans that you've got for global domination for travel IT. And we introduced what you guys were going to be doing at that business travel show in London. And you're going to tell us a little bit about what happened at that show, because this is the place to talk travel technology, the latest developments, cutting edge ideas, all of that innovation.
100%. I mean, if you want to, in the travel industry, if you want to call yourself a global player, that's the place to be.
Really?
Yeah.
Who are all there? I mean, like who flies to exhibit besides people like you guys at Tourvest Travel Services? Who goes to see the things there? Look at this. Wow.
Yeah. So what you see on the screen over there, those are some of the exhibitors that you've got. American Express Card and a company called Direct ATPI. A lot of tech providers. They actually split the show into 3. They have a meeting show because, as you know, meetings and exhibitions is big in the travel industry. They have a travel show, which is for travel management companies.
Right.
And they have a tech show. It's all in one. What you see over there is the planning. Now, you think that's like a week before. That's literally 12 hours before opening.
Sure. And am I right in assuming that a lot of these people who have got exhibitions there, we wouldn't necessarily know outside of the travel business? We wouldn't know, but these are the machines and the systems that run things.
Yeah.
When you make a booking.
They got weird names and all of that kind of stuff. You never heard of them before, but they're the little connectors that put everything together. And with Travel IT, we're one of those connectors.
Yeah.
All the way from South Africa, deep south. And we thought it's time to introduce ourselves to the world. So, yeah, it was fantastic.
That's very, very good. Okay, so tell us about your stand.
So,
what did you guys have there?
when we chose our stand, we wanted to be a little humble. We obviously also needed to go with what we could afford. So it's a bit of that combined. And, you know, everything's in pounds. So you got to... That's the stand that we've got over there. We partnered with our UK partner called Munro's.
Right.
We went in with the We program and You Prosper catch line for Travel IT. And I got a little special mention for Knickknacks, which was the hero of the entire show.
Oh, lekker. Okay,
And
so what is that? Because people love knickknacks.
Tell you the story about Knickknacks. We didn't know this.
I saw that in the corner. I was like,
Yeah,
what is
going on
it?
there?
Someone leave their packet of chips? Like,
You know, when you have an exhibition, you have to have like a little takeaway or giveaway
Sure.
and stuff like that. Everybody's got something.
Yeah.
And we tried to get a marula. And apparently you need a liquor license.
Okay.
So we said, fine, we've got a company in the UK, 12S duty free.
Yeah.
They've got a liquor license. No. The UK, you need a personal, it's called a personal liquor license if you want to serve alcohol on the stand.
Okay.
Whatever
Spoil
alcohol
sports.
it is. Yeah. Okay, no problem. It's going to cost £500 for the license. No problem. 10 grand, no problem. We'll do that. Okay, what do we need to do? Well, it's a 3-month process. There's about 17 forms you got to fill in. They got so many rules. The stand next to us is a South African guy on board, and they always find the back door. Found one of the catering company's trolleys, put all the drinks on there, paid them £1,000 to get some beers.
That's awesome.
If that's not the most South African thing I've heard today, I don't know what
And
is.
it
We
had to-
always make a plan.
had
Hey?
to be a
Always.
South African, and there's so many South Africans there, which is quite outstanding.
So how did you end up with knickknacks?
Well, Monet said, well, if you're going to give a snack away, give fizzers, South African stuff, and take knickknacks and just trust me. And we didn't know this. It's contraband. It's actually banned in Europe and the UK
Wow.
for something that's inside it in terms of the ingredients.
monosodium glutamate, probably.
That's probably it. And even the South African store can't stock it.
Really?
So nobody has it. And we went over with a suitcase full.
That's so clever. God, I love you guys. These guys really do break all the rules, but you know, that's part of the fun side of what you do. I know that there's a very serious part of your business, and it's probably worth just reiterating to people who don't understand the real backbone of what you do. And so many of the bookings that we're all making on a day-to-day basis, we don't even realize are going through Travel IT.
That's right.
And this is novel, innovative, and original technology developed here in South Africa by Tourvest. And what's amazing about it is that this is already doing the job in South Africa and internationally, and is probably the best system for not only corporate travel, but for individual travel. I mean, it's working in the background when you book on Discovery, for example. Am I right?
Yeah, and a whole lot of others. But it's much more than that. It's a fully integrated. And this is something we learned while we were there. We've seen other products while we were there. We spoke to clients who are using other products or competing products over there. And it's just so much of fun. You're standing on the stand and you're watching some of the sales guys go through some demos. Really, really interesting. There's dozens of exhibitors over there. And these clients have seen a lot of these things. And they get very surprised when they sit with our salespeople and they're doing a live demo. They're not doing a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. It's happening. You can actually do it.
It's not a sales
So
job.
you guys are ahead of the curve.
It's a live demo. And you see the look on their face. They say, is this live? And he's like, yeah, we just booked you a ticket as a demo, but a live ticket from here to Ibiza. And it's issued your ticket. And they're like, really? Can I fly? It's like, yes, it's done it. There's the ticket. It's on your mobile phone. And they're so surprised by that, number one. They're also surprised that it's something that actually works. Now, if you'll afford me a little bit of time to explain,
go for it.
You've got a lot of tech companies that offer this tech solution for online travel.
Sure.
And really, really world-class companies, looks really good, looks really slick. And as you know, there's a process. You know, you look for something, you find something, you price it, you check availability, you select something, goes for approval, gets accepted, gets rejected, goes through a process before you actually get your documentation. We keep our process simple. I think it's like a 5-step process in corporate. It's connected via mobile, via desktop, via the app, all of that kind of stuff. The competing products put a lot of little processes, we call them micro processes, in between all of this.
That slows it down.
And slows it down, but also a lot of the time doesn't actually get to the end because the user gets a little frustrated. And what do? They revert to what's called the traditional model. Oh no, I can't be asked with this. Just get all the consultant, let a travel agent do it for me. And the reason why they do these micro processes in between is because somewhere there it's a little broken.
There's someone has to get their slice of the pie.
Correct. And
so it also ends up being cheaper
so
this way.
These clients that we see are so surprised to see the live demo, and it actually works right till the end.
But let me understand, and for the purpose of our audience this morning, this is mostly for corporate travel.
That's all,
but
well,
I
for
mean,
the show, yes.
It could work. You know, you could end up rolling out an individual travel application. There are many that use this as their background interface anyway.
Coming soon.
I can't wait.
Watch this.
So that'll be exciting. And then you don't have to use all of that stuff either. You can just have the most streamlined process and have 100%. Your documents and have your tickets instantly. All right. So what's next, Achi? I mean, you guys are always developing the new thing.
Well, like I say, coming soon. We got a couple of weeks, maybe a month or more before we start testing the personal version of Travel IT, which is coming soon on travel.co.za. We have a partner showcase, which you know about. It's on level 45 coming soon. It's a big event that we're having. It's going to be the highest partner or travel showcase, highest in terms of level 45 in South Africa, in probably the world, because everybody has these things on the ground. We decided to have it at level 45.
That's in the Leonardo. Huh?
Yeah. Another exciting thing happening, probably in about 3 to 4 weeks time, we're opening our Dubai office.
Wow.
The actual opening. So that's going to be great.
Amazing.
Funny enough, we met, I won't mention the company's name, but the head of procurement for a company that's a global company, the global head of procurement, and was heard of us through a campaign we ran online on LinkedIn. And the feedback, she said, we got a big office in Dubai. And we said, we met with them. And they weren't interested in our technology. And she asked why. And we said, well, they scared the PAs might lose their jobs. And, you know, the PAs are from all over the world, from Russia, from, you know, the UK, from Spain and all of that kind of stuff. And the PAs are the ones rejecting it. And she said, bullshit. I'm coming to South Africa. We're going to have a full meeting and we're going to talk about rolling this out in Dubai and the rest of the world. So
cut out the middlemen seems to be the idea
and
here too.
Very, very positive. The business travel show. I mean, there's thousands of people that attend. I just wanted to finish on that. But you only have probably space for 30 meetings or engagements. So you have to be really, really selective about who you accept meetings with.
Wow.
And it's a very slick system. 2 or 3 weeks before the show, all these registered buyers go online, look at the exhibitors and request meetings with you. But if they've never heard about you, they're not going to request a meeting, which is why we did a targeted online campaign on LinkedIn.
Very good.
To people with specific titles. They just saw, come and find us. We Travel IT, we'll change your life. And we got half our meetings were actually requested from them. And the other half of meetings we requested with certain people. And you get a lot of walk-ins and people that come by. So it's a 3-year cycle. This was year 1. Welcome to Travel IT, introducing us. Next year, make a little bit bigger of a mark. And by year 3, that's when we get the competitors nervous.
I love it. All right. I also like your Star Wars hoodie. That's very cool. By the way, just for good measure, while we say goodbye to Achi, you can go and check out travel.co.za, make your dream holiday a reality, and you could be as happy as this Dutch guy.
Yes, sir.
Ik wil naar een warm land, even op vakantie. Lekker bakken in de zon, daarop wil ik garantie. Ik hou van lekker eten, dranken van de vrouwen. Ga
Good
Cheers,
to
guys.
see you, man.
Cheers,
that was awesome.
Cheers.
All right, so we've got a definite theme going this morning. All right, it's just after 7. That is the window seat with travel.co.za. We will return with a whole lot more. Jack Mutlante and I here to look after you all the way until 8 o'clock. Don't go anywhere.
IQ Matrix LED headlamps.
Ooh, I like those.
And they are brilliant because, first of all, I have astigmatism. So that means I don't get enough light into my retinas. So night driving for me can be a real headache. And if I didn't have those lights fitted, I would have had to take a shuttle. So what makes this special is that you can actually put your brights on, high beam full on, okay? And you're not going to dazzle a single person on the road because it illuminates what's going on around at the side of the road as well.
Yeah.
So if there's oncoming traffic approaching, it immediately dims some of those little LED lights. It disables some of them.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Spain. I'm going to back Spain for what I did to you guys last time. I've got them as 2-1. A lot of people in the studio are very happy that I said that. And it's also because Italy's got a leaky defense. So I think Spain is going to run around them. And France, look, I'm backing that French attack for that 3-1.
Okay, so if you are more adventurous than us, you can obviously bet on the Proteas. You can play in the Super 8s of the Cricket World Cup. We're not going to touch that business.
Yeah.
Okay, we are live on a Wednesday morning. It's already the 10th of July.
Yep.
Yes, before you know it. Listen, I always say when August comes along, forget about it. If you have ideas and plans and schemes to take over the world and you haven't put them into play by August, it's not going to happen. Because there's this like serious acceleration to the end of the year after that. It just, it like, forget about it.
It flies.
And I'll tell you something else. It's like, it's really hard to get people motivated in the cold. Getting people to do anything, like meetings and things. Yes. Yesterday, I had nonstop meetings all day, but they were all online. So it was fine. So I sat at home, made sure I was nice and warm. If the camera was on, then they would see like I looked respectable from here up. But there were blankets. And there was like, I think I drank a lot of tea.
Yeah.
And, there was like hot water bottles and shit going on. It was fantastic. If I could do days like that, I can be productive.
Yeah.
As long as you're warm. It's amazing how much you can get done. Otherwise, you spend the whole day at the office just trying to keep warm. I mean, that office that you're at is freezing.
It is freezing.
And then people sit there and they're basically just shivering and they spend all of their mental and physical energy just trying to get hot.
Stay warm, yeah.
get away from the cold. So nothing productive is done.
Yeah, well, I sit with the heater right in front of my desk at the office.
What kind of heater? Because you get, there's the oil ones, which are
those
terrible.
fan heaters.
The fan heaters but they dry you out like a prune.
That's the problem. So I have to switch it on and off and alternate during the day. But I've found a little bit of a rhythm, so I'm okay now. I'm doing a lot better.
I remember we spoke to an energy expert once, and he said that the best ones are actually the air conditioner, but you put it on heat.
Yeah.
From an energy use point of view.
That's the best option.
Energy conservation, yeah. So that's apparently the best one to use. But I don't know. I was away this weekend, and we survived by making fires. Just lots and lots of fires.
Like old school.
Yeah. And that felt kind of good.
Yeah.
But, geez, we burned through a lot of wood.
Do you know what? I've got no problem with fires. It's just the moment you step away, the smell of smoke is all over your body.
Please, man, you smell like you've been at an outdoor braai or party or shebeen or something. But those braziers that the homeless people in town gather around. They've got a one of those rubbish bins with holes in it, right? And they put the coals and the wood in there, and it burns. It'll stand like this over there. Those things work like a charm.
Yeah, it's called an mbaula.
Mbaula. But you smell.
Yeah, you do.
You're going to smell pretty terrible.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. If you are planning on going on a date, I choose another day, bro.
It's worse than garlic.
Yeah.
And you smell your clothes afterwards, the next day. If you're stupid enough to get into bed without having a shower before you get into bed, then your bed smells like that too. And ish.
That's just a bad idea.
It's tough in South Africa. It's really tough. All right. So speaking of South Africa, apparently International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola said he's already discussed Ireland's new visa regulations for South Africans with his Home Affairs counterpart, Leon Schreiber. So there's already proof that the ANC and the DA are working together. But the Irish, it's funny, this happened just after the rugby, right? That's what everybody's saying. Apparently the Irish Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee, announced that nationals traveling from South Africa and Botswana would no longer have visa-free entry into that country. She said the amendment would align Ireland with the Schengen area and the UK's visa requirements. We've been able to go to Ireland for years. As far as I know, there aren't any incidents that South Africans have been involved in. You normally go, oh, okay, someone's embarrassed us. But as far as I know, nothing's happened. But now you have to go and pay between 1,200 and 2,000 rand for an Irish visa.
What happened?
Our producer,
James. Yes.
No, Ryan, who was here before. No. Ryan just got in the nick of time,
just by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, we were meant to catch up with him the other day, but we couldn't connect properly, and we'll try that again at some point. Find out how he's doing.
But I wonder what caused this entire change.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah. Why suddenly decide, okay, we're going to now impose a visa on these people?
It's very strange.
Did someone do something?
So a friend of mine was in Ireland, I think, earlier on this year. And he was telling me how there are a bunch of different nationalities in Ireland that you wouldn't expect. So he says he would go out to these clubs and whatnot and bump into a whole host of Brazilian women.
Nice.
Right?
Sounds like a good reason to go to Ireland.
And I was like, maybe I need to buy that ticket. I need to buy that ticket. But honestly, I don't think I'd enjoy the weather. I've heard not so great things about Ireland's weather. It's something you can do without, seemingly.
Apparently, according to the Minister of Sport, Gayton McKenzie, speaking of ministers, the majority of South Africans are super fans. That's what he tweeted just 47 minutes ago. So he's probably going to be looking to give ordinary South Africans an experience of being super fans like Mama Joy and the rest of them.
Yeah, maybe they should rotate. You know what I mean? Find one here, find another one there. All alike. Make it a bit of a raffle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get all of us involved. Let's see what happens if, you win the ticket and you get to go watch the Springboks or whatever the case may be. That'd be cool. I think that'd be cool.
So I don't know if you got caught up in any of this online, but apparently Novak Djokovic was booed at Wimbledon, and he wasn't taking it. after the match yesterday. I'm not sure what stage of Wimbledon they're at. I don't know if this weekend coming is the finals. I'm not sure. But Novak Djokovic was booed. They tried to disguise it by saying, no, people were shouting for Casper Ruud, who's the other guy. He was like, no. He says, I've been doing this 25 years. I'm not an idiot. I can hear when people are booing me. He's like, it's fine. I'm still the best. You guys are just losers. And he wasn't taking it. And apparently the BBC has trying to... the BBC is trying to provoke him and say he should apologize for calling people out for booing him. And he's like, no. Not interested.
Why would they boo him in the first place? I don't understand.
I don't understand.
I remember, with the whole COVID thing, he didn't want to take the shot, and I was fully behind him on that.
Absolutely.
But, after that, I really don't understand why anyone would be mad at him. Novak Djokovic?
I don't know if it had anything to do with that at all. I think people are...
Well, I mean, it's the last time I remember him making being
you know what happens at these tennis matches, and it's especially prevalent in France because the French are always so otherwise. But they love the underdog.
Yeah,
and Djokovic has been such a feature of the tennis landscape for such a long time that people also just kind of, they're spoiled. They're sick of him, so it's easy to boo him. Maybe that's part of it. He wasn't taking any of it, though, which I think is great. Most people try to please the crowd.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, thanks, guys. I'm sure you weren't booing me. He's like, fuck you.
As he should.
You know how good I am?
Yeah.
Half of you are only here because I'm playing.
And if it's jealousy, I wish him 2-3 more years of health and wealth.
Exactly.
Keep whipping their ass. I'm a massive Nadal fan, but I'm not going to boo Djokovic just because he's still playing at a high level.
Right.
Get over yourself, you child.
Tato says he actually acknowledged all of the calm supporters there for the sport.
That is great.
It was the quarterfinals, according to Carl. This weekend is the final. Djokovic is the best tennis player ever.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a lot of people think. And Raven says, was he being a dous? I don't know, but I don't think it's always a good idea to try and please the crowd. Like if the crowd is booing you, sometimes the crowd doesn't know what the hell it's doing.
Yep.
Sometimes the crowd is just filled with idiots who are doing what everyone else in the crowd thinks they should do, and they just go along with it. It's like if you see a whole bunch of people running in a certain direction, do you run with them or do you go and see what they're running from?
Yep.
Do you just join in a crowd when they're on their way to, I don't know, kill Marie Antoinette, or do you decide, no, I'm going to actually stay here? I'm not getting involved in this.
I think the more apt example for South Africans is, do you see a queue and immediately just stand in it?
Yeah, you just join the queue.
You just
I know people who would do that, right?
It shocks me. It shocks me so much. Just a line of people and you just join. You've got no idea what's going on. You just stand there.
Sanella's in the comments says, losers generally aren't happy with winners. He wins all the time.
Yeah.
Losers will never be happy with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's true.
Yeah, and get better.
And
get better.
And there are going to always be more losers than winners. So when losers are confronted with a winner, they usually try to tear them down so that they can raise themselves up. Of course, it doesn't work that way because crabs in the bucket, right?
Yeah.
They just keep pulling the other crabs back in, and then no one escapes from the bucket. And also the tall poppy syndrome, which is a serious problem in very many parts of the world. As soon as someone does well, it can't be that they actually did well or that they worked hard or that they sacrificed a whole lot of stuff or that they just got lucky. It has to be that they did it at your expense. I love the way people who've done nothing in their lives will go and say, oh, Djokovic, he keeps winning. It's so unfair. If only he wasn't playing, I would be the world champion. You're like, no, you wouldn't. You're fat and you watch tennis from home.
Exactly. Even if the top 200 tennis players on the planet were to just retire.
If the top 1,000, you still wouldn't make it, whoever you are.
Make it.
I love that. Oh, man. In the wise words of Bobby Boucher, says Tracy Bard, if you ain't first, you're last. That's from Talladega Nights. I love it. I also think, there are loads of sports where people feel like participating is the important thing.
No, it's not.
even board games. Over this weekend, as I said, I went away with some friends and we played 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I take 30 seconds extremely seriously.
Yeah, same here.
I will choose whoever I think is the smartest person to be my teammate.
I've ended relationships because of...
You've ended relationships?
Yeah.
Hold on. Pause to explain?
Seriously. Like, I'll meet a young lady, we'll, get along for a couple of weeks. And if we chill with my friends and we play 30 seconds, you embarrass myself. If you embarrass me, you out of it. Listen.
Wow, you'll break up
out of it.
Sure. Okay, then you're a step further than I thought. I was bad because I don't really have a sense of humor about it. Like if it's not going my way, I'm like, oh, no, don't want to play this game anymore. If someone is messing around, they're not taking it seriously. I'm like, concentrate. I've got some winning to do.
Think about it, though.
You sound even worse.
Seriously, though, like that game, when you think about it, it shows you a lot about the people you're around.
Yeah.
How do they handle pressure?
Yeah.
Do they have BMT? You know what I mean? Big match temperament.
You actually do a complete assessment of them.
I need to see if shit hits the fan and I need you to get some information to me really quickly and you can't and you fail. Listen, you're out of there. You are out of there. Gone. And you're not going to embarrass me in front of people. Hell no.
We tried playing Cards Against Humanity, but the one guy who was there was just not interested. He's like, there's no way to win this game. So what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is supposedly a way to win. Like you come up with the most funny or offensive answer. But actually, he said that that's too arbitrary. And he wants to actually account for winning. That's why we went on to 30 seconds, which I like.
Yeah.
Azalea says 30 seconds and Trivial Pursuit are actually the best. They're the litmus test for relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, she would agree with you.
Yeah. It's no joke.
Okay. Gareth would probably psych me out and I'd forget the most obvious things, says that Don Kere. Uno's great. My sister's boyfriend taught the nephews to play a game called Wah Uno.
Okay, what's that?
Wah Uno is where if you get like a +4, +7, you hand it on to people and then they end up with a pile of cards like this, you go, wah, which teaches kids at a young age that life is unfair.
Yeah.
And you've just got to make the most of it, right?
Yeah, you have to.
And if you complain and you moan, then you're pathetic. You're just a loser. So just deal with it.
Yeah.
And now they only want to play Wah Uno. They don't just want to play Uno, but they want to be able to go wah when they've like labored you with a whole pile of cards.
That's actually a cool way to teach a lesson.
I think so too,
that's
right?
Dope.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Carl says, my wife lets me play 30 seconds every weekend. She used to call it my 2-minute noodle, but now we have kids, so time is scarce. I don't think we're playing the same game here.
Yeah, I don't think
Cards Against Humanity is brutal and the South African version is wild. Is there a South African version?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, man. It's so great. Some of those things are just absolutely abominable, right? I want to meet the people who came up with this game. I think it's great. It's just very, very funny.
Yeah.
Monopoly is good, says Gray. It would also be good to teach people how money works.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's what a lot of kids' first introduction to economics is through Monopoly. You can also be cruel in Monopoly, though. Put up hotels and houses on every street, making it really difficult for people to just go around the board.
Yeah.
That's how you learn how like everything's stacked against the poor, right?
It's if you want, I think Monopoly is such a cool illustration of how life can play out. The only difference is when you start the game, everyone starts on the same footing, which is not how life actually works.
No, exactly.
But I like the fact that as the game continues, you kind of discriminate between who's smart and who isn't.
And the 80-20 rule comes into play immediately.
Yes, it
right?
does.
The Matthew principle. Like by the end of the game, 20% of the players have 80% of the wealth.
Yeah.
That just shows you that it's not like, where this is unfair. Where it's actually that's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's how economics happens. It's like you're going to end up with most of the wealth in a certain part of the board, and those people will own everything. And
exactly.
Sometimes it's a little bit of luck, but it's also a little bit of brains. It's all you need to know. Monopoly also teaches you about theft and taxes, says Bitcoin But. Yeah. The worst is landing on that. Go to jail. Do not pay 200 Rand. Do not pass go.
And then
Just go to jail. So unfair.
And then you have to pull out that get out of free jail card under your leg there.
Yeah.
Because you don't want everyone to know that you've got it.
Get out of
You know
jail
what I mean?
free card.
You're like, Ella.
I love it. That Don Kitty says Pictionary is fun too. You know what? There's some really cool games. I think that the classic ones are still the best though.
Yeah. Without
Monopoly,
a shadow of a doubt.
30 Seconds, Trivial Pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
These are the games that I think everybody loves. And you have to, the one I won't play with people I care about is Risk, because I get I get so competitive, man. I remember turning over a table on my brother at like age 12. I was like, he was frustrating the hell out of me. If you've never played Risk before, like it's about taking over the world, right?
Yeah.
I take that very personally. So he was doing this thing where he was holed up in Australia. You can only attack Australia through one place, right? Indonesia. And he had so many men stationed there.
Yeah.
It was just taking forever. I owned the rest of the world, but it was taking forever. He was basically doing a Stalingrad. Oh, I got so frustrated. I eventually just turned the table over. I was like, get out of here. He's never played with me since.
I would never play with you either.
With me since.
If you're flipping tables and stuff,
jeez.
I swear I would have gotten up like, Gareth, it's not that serious.
It is. Says the guy who breaks up with girls over 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, look, man. I'm
lunatic.
I'm not violent. At least, like you flipping tables. I'm breaking up with people.
Dude.
I'm just saying.
Breaking up with people is a pretty severe penalty for them getting a 30 seconds question wrong.
Yeah. No. What if that stupidity is hereditary, Gareth? What am I going to do with? Like now we're going to make children and add more idiots to the world. I think we've got enough.
Man. You know, part of it is also big match temperament. And this is something that made me think of the Proteas this weekend. Because if you're playing 30 seconds and someone in the comments said you psych someone out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You make them nervous. You've only got 10 seconds left. That kind of thing. It ruins people's ability to think clearly. Their emotion comes into it. They no longer know the answer. They're like overwhelmed, and then they lose.
Yeah.
It's very easy to throw some people off. They don't have big match temperaments. I mean, that's the problem with the Proteas, right?
Yep. The biggest problem with the Proteas.
Percy says it's an IQ and communications test. Well, that's an interesting point. I mean, actually 30 seconds isn't necessarily about how much you know, but about how quickly you can explain something.
Yeah.
So, sometimes the answer is a complicated, difficult thing that might require a lot of associations, but you can explain it with like charades laws.
Yeah.
2 syllables, and then people get it quickly.
But the thing is, it's a combination of both things, Gareth. It's about what you know and how well you can explain it to someone else. Because for argument's sake,
and if you've got a connection with that other person, it's so much easier.
It's so much easier.
Because they can read your mind,
right.
So you've got a much better chance of winning.
You need some sort of general knowledge in order for you to make it through that game. That's why I'm saying I place a lot of stock on how well a person plays 30 seconds, because it tells me if you are informed about the world around you, if you have BMT, if you if shit hits the fan, can I count on you or not? Those are the kind of things that I look out for when we play these kind of games. I taught my friends how to play Texas Hold'em poker some time back, and that's where you learn if you can do, for the crimes with someone. It's like, okay, can I trust you to keep a straight face? Are you stoic or not? Are you one of those people who gets a little reward and you can't wait to tell the world about it? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
There's these tiny little things that you pick up about people when you play these games. So
I do agree. It's not just a game.
No.
There's a lot that's given away in these things. Gift Dichole says, you guys must try Catan, Settlers of Catan. I watched some people play this earlier this year. So I still don't know exactly how it works, but it's about resources and there's a map and you get cards and then you have to trade cards and you get resources and you have to trade resources. And that sounds like a quite clever game too. I can't say I know exactly how it works, but I'm sure there's a strategy involved there too.
Yeah.
It's the same with PC games or games on a PlayStation or an Xbox or whatever. Some of them are so intricate and involved and complicated that it does reveal a lot about the people who are playing them if you watch them playing. And there are some people who develop incredibly good strategic impulses and instincts as a result of playing these games. There's a game that, again, my sister's boyfriend introduced me to years ago. It's like 2-3 years ago. But I remember I played it for a while until eventually it just stopped updating. It was called Crusader Kings on a laptop. But it was so intricate, so involved. You had like diplomacy, war, marrying your family off to the right families.
Oh my word!
It's dynastic. It's strategic. It's really, really complicated game.
Yeah.
And for a while, I can honestly say I thoroughly enjoyed it because it appealed to me. It has like a history component to it too, and there's so many things you can do there. There's intrigue, and there's battle, and there's who can you trust, and which people should you appoint to your council, and that kind of thing. And I mean, I pretty much got the game waxed within a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then lost interest. But for a while, it was really good. And I'm no strategic genius. Most people who meet me will tell you this guy's not the smartest guy at that stuff in particular.
Yeah.
But it wasn't hard to do, and I got into it big time for a little while, and then very quickly moved on. But I've never really been a gamer in that respect. So
the one game that really appealed to me for a while, but this was years ago, was Hitman. I loved Hitman.
Oh, yeah.
I loved Hitman. And because after every mission, you'd be given a ranking like Raging Psychopath or like Silent Assassin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always aimed for Silent Assassin. You needed to move in the shadows, do the job, and get out without anyone, being any wiser to your movements.
Right.
But as usual, Hollywood stepped in and made a movie about it and screwed up everything.
Damn it. Carl says the person you're playing with counts the most. If it's someone you know well, I got Paris because I said to a mate, capital of Italy. He responded with Paris and we won. So you have to know like how smart the person is that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Has anyone ever played World of Warcraft or Dota? What's Dota?
I don't know what Dota is. World of Warcraft I do know of. But yeah, I'm not too attracted to gamers. I haven't been a massive gamer in a very long time. Like for whatever reason, I just dropped the habit.
My mom still plays solitaire with real cards, says Tracy. That's great.
Cool.
Good.
That is so cool.
Candy Crush cults, says Raven. Yeah, that's a thing.
I don't understand why that game is so attractive to women. And I say women.
What, Candy Crush?
Candy Crush. And I say specifically women because I've never seen a man get lost in that game.
I've never played it, hey?
It is the weirdest thing. Like, I mean, ladies, please explain to me what it is about Candy Crush.
Why would that game especially appeal to women? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I
there are probably guys who like it, but they'll be the exception to the rule. I don't know any guys who play Candy Crush.
I've never met a man who plays Candy Crush.
I wonder what the answer is there. All right. Well, we don't have time for all of that. We need to keep moving. We've got a lot to do on the show this morning. Now, we've talked about big pharma, right? And we've talked about big industries like big tobacco and big liquor and all that stuff. And I think that one of the things people are most worried about is big food. And we've kind of touched on this once or twice before, especially when it comes to like fast food, genetically modified foods, all this kind of thing. I think people are very interested in the quality of the stuff they consume. And it's really hard and it's expensive to know that what you're eating is actually good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, we were joking with Achi earlier about like MSG, monosodium glutamate in the food. But I think we've got to consider these things. You don't know. What you put in, you'll get out, right? So we're going to talk to someone called Simpiwe Masilo, who is an activist and youth action plan project lead. He's online, going to join us this morning to talk about young people especially, who are demanding immediate action to prevent their health and their future from the deceptive practices of big food. So it's their advertising, it's their lying to you about what's inside the packaging. Big Food is under scrutiny for potentially misleading customers about the healthiness of their products. This issue is particularly urgent for children who are increasingly suffering from obesity and health-related issues. Globally, over 220 million children aged 5 to 18 are obese. 220 million fat children, with South Africa seeing 1 in 5 children under 13 affected. That is twice the global average just here in South Africa. Raises serious concerns about the influence of big food on our diets. So, Simpiwe, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thanks. How are you?
Oh, it's a Simpiwe. So I thought it was a guy Simpiwe. It's a girl Simpiwe.
Girl Simpiwe.
Nice to see you, Simpiwe. How are you?
Nice to see you too. How are you doing?
Good. So I read that intro about like how many kids in this country are obese and they're not even 13 years old. That's scary. That's a very, very scary statistic. Is it Big Food's fault though, or is it their parents and their fault?
Big Foods plays a large role in what's happening, specifically in how Big Foods are marketed. So something simple as your breakfast cereals has your bright colors and they tell you that it's nutritional for children, that children are going to get the go and that they're going to get the energy that they need. And what a parent's going to do, they're going to buy exactly that because that's what they're being told.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I completely agree with you that advertising and marketing and things like bright colors and beautiful packaging and cartoon characters and stuff that they see on TV that's all linked to what they're eating there, that's like a trap. I do get it.
Yeah.
And I do think that that stuff needs to be fought. But at the same time, you know, fast food's easy. A lot of people want to go for the fast food, but we all know deep down inside it's not good for us.
True, fast food is easy and it's easily accessible, especially when you're in areas that are a lot more impoverished than your wealthier areas in South Africa. However, it doesn't take away from the fact that it is still unhealthy. And it's not even that people don't know that it's unhealthy. It's also mostly how it's marketed to us. Yesterday, for example, I was on SAFM and a friend of mine was taking a recording of that video. Right above the recording of while I was speaking, it was literally a advertisement of a fast food franchise.
Oh, yeah.
So having these things in your faces where on the other side of it, that advertisement could have been for fruits and veg, but it wasn't.
Okay, so let's just talk about Big Food. Like, who are the companies that you're most worried about here? Because a lot of the big food companies are actually owned by massive multinational corporations. So it's like a couple of them. There are probably about 6 or 7 companies in the world that control almost all the processing of food and the marketing of food and the packaging of food. And they're the guys who actually control the supply lines. They know what the ingredients are in all of these things. And they're the ones who sell them to us at the end, right? So there are a couple of companies that are in charge of everything. It's not a conspiracy.
No, it's definitely not a conspiracy. I mean, our biggest stakeholders that we're trying to target right now, aside from the companies, is government themselves. So the Department of Health of South Africa is sitting on a regulation. It's called the I337 Front of Package Food Regulation. And essentially what this regulation does is exactly what cigarette company regulation does, where it demands these big food companies on the front of their package for food to actually state that, hey, this is unhealthy. This black triangle means that it doesn't have the nutritional value that we claim it does. Once that regulation is passed.
She's frozen.
She's frozen.
James? I think she's frozen. Let's see if we can get her back. It was the... I think she's back. Simpiwe?
Hi, I'm back.
Sorry, we lost you for a second there. It was Big Food. They tried to cut you off.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy of the morning.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying there's this regulation that they're trying to bring in, the R3337?
Yes, it's the I337 front of package draft regulation. So last year, 2023, government opened it up for commentary, and since then it's just been sitting and it hasn't been passed at all. So as part of the Fix My Food organization, which is a conglomerate of fix my foods from all over the world that have been started by UNICEF, but specifically in South Africa, our main focus is to try and get government to pass this regulation, because then it essentially says to big food companies that you can't lie anymore. So on the front of each and every single product that you produce, you actually need to tell people what's on there in bold letters. You need to put a little black triangle that says, hey, this is not as healthy as we claimed it to be.
Okay, I totally agree with you about a lot of these things, but I'm also very concerned, like the WHO and you said UNICEF just now. I mean, these are just big government, and big government in collusion with big food is probably the most dangerous thing that could ever happen to us. I also think like regulations aren't necessarily going to change behavior. If you look at smoking, for example,
that was the example I was thinking of.
Right? They put all that stuff on the front of cigarette boxes. It didn't stop anybody from smoking. And I wonder how many people already know that some of this stuff is bad for you, but they like it, so they're going to keep eating it.
So I did a YouTube episode with Chu on this that's organized by healer.org, and people can go find that series on healer.org.
Yeah. Tell us what was in it.
Big food.
She's definitely got big food trying to hack her while she's talking to us here.
It's bad. It's bad.
I mean, I wonder why anybody, wants to go after the food packaging when they should go after the people who are
making the food.
And also, if the food packaging is all going to look horrible with just lists of ingredients on it, I don't know how many people are going to be buying it.
Hey man,
I mean, it's the shelves will look horrific. It looked like Russia.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I people need to take accountability as well.
Yeah.
Look, though the cigarettes is a perfect example. It writes there on the box, smoking is bad for your health.
That says will kill you.
It'll kill you. It'll do this to your heart.
They show like lungs that have been...
but people still smoke.
Yeah. So I don't know about this packaging thing. Are you sure this is the way to go?
Definitely. I mean, with smoking, for example, number one, there's been a large decrease in the amount of people that do smoke because of it. Number two, cigarettes can't actually be marketed on TV due to the regulations. So if we at the start try and regulate how the big food companies are marketed. I mean, at the moment, just driving from one place to another place in any spot in Gauteng, you have big billboards that are flooding you with these marketing tactics on social media, just scrolling, and you just see these marketing tactics. So trying to regulate how that works and also trying to inform people with these regulations on how that works. South Africa has a high literacy rate. So a lot of people aren't necessarily concerned with informing themselves around these marketing. So by having regulations that assist with informing them definitely does help.
Siphiwe, I'm really annoyed by and surprised by the fact that these big multinational organizations like the WHO and others are trying to make us eat insects. And I saw an article this morning about how cockroach milk is better for you than cow milk, for example. I mean, they really are trying to get us to eat disgusting things too, on the pretext that it's healthy for us. But frankly, I would rather eat chocolate every day of my life than have one single cup of cockroach milk, even if it's supposedly healthy for me. Something's going to kill me. May as well be something that tastes nice.
Mm-hmm.
No one's saying you have to, don't eat cockroaches, eat an apple if you must. However, be aware of the fact that the chocolate that you would rather eat over the cockroach isn't nutritional for you. Be aware of the fact that when it is marketed to you, it is marketed in a way that forces you to think that you need this, and it is in your face, and that while for you as a grown adult who has a higher literacy rate, who knows what's actually inside the food that they're eating, a child who's 6-year-old doesn't have the same information. And furthermore,
hang on, that's the parent's job. You made the child. Why should the rest of us in society have to have boring packaging on our food because your parents didn't do a good job, didn't tell you shouldn't just eat sugar, you little shit?
And let's be honest, like you do not wake up obese. No one goes to sleep one night and then wake up overweight the very next morning. Like, it's a process. So I think what I would suggest perhaps is changing the culture in this country. Like, you know this, Imperial, most probably better than Gareth would, but like, You know, when a African woman is well rounded around the hips, we think that is great. But there are a lot of health implications that come with that. So perhaps we need to be looking at the culture rather than just putting labels on food.
That's part of changing the culture. I mean, once upon a time, anyone could smoke a cigarette at any place. You could get onto an airplane, you could smoke a cigarette. Right this very moment, if I know in my family, if a female is seen smoking, then it's all of a sudden this bad taboo thing. But way back when smoking indoors was part of the culture, this is part of changing the cultures. It's part of the process of changing the cultures. If we don't start at one singular point, then we're never going to start at any other point.
Yeah, listen, I'm on your side with they must start telling the truth on packaging, right? And this is a big part of what you're an activist for. Am I right? That this is really, really integral, that they've got to tell us what's in there. Like, tell us what the harmful ingredients are. Tell us what the chemicals are that you use. Tell us where it's grown. Tell us what kinds of genetic enhancements you're making. Like, people need to be able to at least see what's going on inside that packet so that they can make an informed choice.
Yes. And I mean, we're not saying that you have to write out absolutely everything, but something as simple as color coding, like a black triangle, so that people know that if they see a black triangle on the front of a package, that this is unhealthy for them. We're still in South Africa at the end of the day, where if it's already on the back and people aren't reading it on the back, they're definitely not going to read it on the front. By teaching them these small symbols that if it's red, you should be more on the cautious side. If it's green, then it's a go.
Okay. What about these constant movements we see all over the world to try and get people to stop eating meat? You're not one of those people, are you? You're not trying to make us all vegan.
I'm not trying to make anyone vegan. I myself definitely am a vegetarian, but you do what pleases you. That is none of my business. I'm just here to tell big food companies to stop lying to us and to tell governments to pass that regulation.
Okay. Well, then we've probably got more in common than we have to disagree about.
Yeah, definitely.
But why do you think there is a link between poverty and bad food choices? And is it entirely about education? Because I don't know that so many people that it isn't obvious to them that a greasy piece of chicken that's been dipped in oil from some fast food joint, surely even a 6-year-old knows it may taste nice. We all know it tastes nice.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. But surely along the way, someone is going to click that, hey, hang on, eating this is probably not good for me, and having a salad is.
Accessibility. I mean, yes, definitely. People do know that eating greasy food isn't healthy, and people do have that connection. But if you're living in an area where the nearest form of food that you can get is the fast food franchise, and simple example, you live in Alex, you work a 2-hour taxi drive away from your household, and you still need to take that 2-hour taxi drive back home, the nearest place to you is your nearest fast food franchise, where the fruit and veg that is close to you is kilometers away, if not further. And on top of that, it's a lot more expensive. So it's easier.
That would make sense, but I'm not talking about townships. I'm talking about rural South Africa, where actually the fast food places are quite far away, and people are still fat.
So the one with the rural areas actually is very interesting to me, where it's in terms of how it's marketed on social media. So on social media, what you'll find, especially with a lot of girls in the rural areas, is that they use fast food franchise to lure them into this lavish lifestyle. So you'll find a little 16-year-old girl from rural area, her boyfriend comes with the car and says, hey, let me buy you this burger, let me buy you this chips, let me buy you this pizza. And now amongst the girls, you are it, because everyone knows that the nearest fast food franchise is how far away, which means that your boyfriend had to go and drive all the way there, which makes you the fancy person. And it becomes part of the sort of luxurious lifestyle that you need to live.
But then it is a treat. So it's not happening all the time. So that wouldn't make you fat. I mean, if you have greasy chicken once a week, you're not going to balloon. And these are supposedly people who live in rural areas who grow a lot of their own food, and yet they're enormous. I mean, it might be the eating habits rather than the marketing or social media.
No, the eating habits definitely are a part of it. Social media is also a part of it. But with also the eating habits of it all, what you'll also find very interesting is that with food companies, they won't tell you that after a certain amount of portions that you have, the food no longer becomes nutritious. So now when you're in a rural area and you don't know that information, you're going to have more and more of it without knowing that after the certain amount of portion, I'm no longer having any nutritional benefits.
They say they make the food addictive, says Tato. That could be a part of it too. We know that there is a chemical reaction that happens that gives people a feeling like that luxury thing that you were just talking about just now. Tastes so nice, smells so good. Can't get enough of that. And the fact that it's easy, right? It's like you order and then 2 minutes later it's right there. You didn't have to cook it. You didn't have to go and dig it up out of the ground. You didn't have to clean it.
All.
Yeah, all that stuff. Somebody says here in the comments, and I'd like your thoughts on this. Wendy says, shop the perimeter of a store. The whole food that looks like actual food. If it comes from a box or a tin, check the label. What do you think of that?
I think that she's absolutely correct. So even in the way that grocery shops are set up is purposefully done so that people are buying the processed and unhealthy foods. When you walk into a grocery shop, at the till, it's usually just sweets as you're walking out.
Yeah.
The lighting of it, how things are placed out, your bread is usually at the back of the grocery shop and your fresh meat is also usually at the back of the grocery shop. That's all done on purpose.
But then they've also lied to us, all these organizations that supposedly had our best interests at heart. They told us butter was bad. Then they told us margarine was bad. Then they told us butter was good. They also said to us there was a food pyramid. Do you remember the food pyramid? We were all taught this shit at school. Turns out it's complete nonsense. Turns out you don't need the carbohydrates. That was part of what the cereal companies were doing to market to us. So we've been lied to, and now we're a little bit skeptical.
So that's also one of the other reasons why we're trying to push for government to take control of this, because at the moment, big food companies have been just running amok with whatever that they want to do. I mean, you have countries such as Mexico that has strengthened up their regulations. Companies such as, countries also such as Vietnam as well have also strengthened their regulations around food companies. Seems like South Africa is the one that's left behind and allowing big food companies to just run amok, where we have the highest obesity rates amongst children under the age of 13 globally.
You know, I don't know. I feel like I'm still stuck on the idea that if we do not correct the behavior, even if we label things, and as you're suggesting, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't, by the way, I think it's important that all of us are informed as much as we possibly can. But I think at the end of the day, as long as we do not change our eating routines, our habits, no matter what you put on that label, people are still going to be fat. Like in my mind, there's absolutely no reason for someone under the age of 13 to be obese. You should be out there running, jumping, and your parents should be parenting you. Like, I don't know. I'm just stuck on the idea that you have to change the culture over and above just putting labels on food.
Let me ask you, if you could ban any 3 things that you think would immediately help, what would they be? If you could actually get the government to ban 3 things, what would they be?
Top 3 things that I'd probably ban would be tuna noodles.
I'm with you. I hate those things.
Tuna noodles, energy bars, and what would be the 3rd thing I'd ban? Anything Nestle.
Anything Nestle.
Wow.
The whole company.
Whole company.
Okay.
Yes.
We got moaning from the producers, but they're fat, so don't worry about them. Wow. Sodas. I mean, like Christian makes a good point. Sodas, that would be a good thing to ban. I think that's probably responsible. If you think about how much sugar is in a can of soda of whatever kind, I mean, that's just frightening, right? Energy drinks, says Tracy. That's another one.
Yeah. We should get
energy drinks. So we did a workshop where with UNICEF and Chew on This, as well as a UK company called Bite Back. And they did little experiments just asking us how much sugar do we think is in particular energy drinks, juices, and soda drinks. Yeah. and then having us take teaspoons out into a cup and literally pouring out all the way up until they said stop, and showing us that this is the amount of sugar that is in your energy drinks, your soda drinks, and even your juices. And they're not telling you this. And especially with your energy drinks and your juices, marketing it in a way that energy drinks will give you the go. Your juices are super healthy for you.
Somebody says here you should ban sugar, just generally sugar. South Africans eat a lot of sugar, though. Hey, that's a big part of our diet in this country, and that's part of our problem.
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely, it is a huge part of our problem. I wouldn't necessarily say ban sugar, because I mean, you get good sugar such as in your fruits. Fruits naturally have sugars in them. However, I would go back to decreasing how we eat our sugar. So going back to what you're saying about changing the culture of how we see things.
Tracy says, I don't trust a company that makes cat food, baby formula, chocolates, cereals, coffee, and bottles water. Specialize in one. You can't have all of them.
Yeah, that is so true.
And Vilmix says, corn syrup. Corn syrup is apparently very bad too. So yeah, wow. There's a lot to think about here.
Yeah, there is a lot to unpack with it. And I mean, as young people, we're at the forefront of trying to make these changes. We're part of the next generation that is changing the culture. So the culture is changing with us. And hopefully by the time we have our kids, it would have definitely changed how we eat and how we see food in the country.
Let me ask you a personal question, because this comes up for me all the time. I'm very rude about fat people because I think that they take up too much space and they break things, and they're unattractive because they're so fat. And as a result, I'm not allowed to get fat. So I have to, I mean, I look in the mirror sometimes and I think, you better go to gym for extra long today and you better not eat for the next 3 days. And yeah, so far I'm holding up. But if I get fat, the fat people will come after me. If you talk about this stuff, are you worried about the fat people turning on you?
No, I'm not.
Because I mean, there are a lot of them and they're very big.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about that, Gareth.
And when they're hungry, they get that look in their eye, and I'm telling you, it's tickets.
No, it's not something I'm worried about.
Promise?
I promise it is not something I'm worried about.
All right,
well,
tell
as
us.
long as you can run, Simpiwe, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Simpiwe, just run.
Run.
Simpiwe, what are we having for breakfast this morning? What is a good thing to have for breakfast this morning? Come on, help us here.
Good thing to have for breakfast this morning, some toast. Well, personally, I'm going to have some toast, egg, a bit of avocado.
Nice.
If you do need something for that's on the go, the making jungalows from actual scratch can also do that. That's a good breakfast to have. Some yogurt, plain yogurt with some fruits. Fruits is always a good go to have for breakfast.
All right. And it is more expensive to eat healthy. Is that just the price that you have to pay? It's like if you want to live in a nice house, you have to be able to afford the bond and the municipal rates and taxes. And if you want to have a nice car, you got to be making enough money. Is that just how it is? Like, it's just richer you are, the better you'll eat.
At the moment, that's how it is. And we're trying to change that, but in South Africa, because it shouldn't be like that. I mean, having your own substantiate farming isn't that expensive. Trying to buy from your local fruit and veggie vendors that are at your taxi rank isn't really that expensive. But people obviously want to buy from certain markets that price it at a higher price, not knowing that they can get it from that vendor that's sitting right there. Support local.
Well, also, I mean, you're going to have toast this morning for breakfast, but the bread cartel, do you remember when they had to break the bread cartel not so long ago? Do you remember that? It's
crazy.
Yeah.
Colluding to fix prices so that ordinary South Africans pay more for bread. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Telling you. All right, there we go. Thank you very much. I'm really, really happy to have you on the show. Keep doing the good work you're doing. Help so many people to figure out what the hell's going on in their food, because it's scary.
Yes, Simpiwe, let's cut the fat.
Thank you so much.
Very nice.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Look at what producer James is having for breakfast, an energy drink. Okay, just go sit down there. Yeah.
Come.
Yeah.
Oh, this was unintentional.
Go on.
You're essentially having a cup of sugar. That's what you're having, a can of sugar.
Is the consensus that a Red Bull is not good for breakfast?
Yes.
Red Bull's not good for anything.
Oh, damn it!
I don't know. I mean, if you need wings or
exactly.
yeah. or if you're James and you're surviving on like an hour of sleep.
There you go.
Look, he's going to die young anyway. You can't save him, Simpiwe.
He's a lost cause.
You could live a little longer if you put the Red Bull down and got some proper rest.
It's quality, not quantity. He's got a horrible life.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm all about
That
vibes.
needs to all about vibes, guys. The vibes need to change a bit. We need to shift around how the vibes look.
All right. Well, Simpiwe looks healthier than you, James, but that's probably because she's eating right. Thank you, Simpiwe. And give your organization a plug so people can go and find out more. They can get some info from you.
Yes, definitely. It's healer.org. So HEALA.org. The episode is true on this episode 2. There's also a petition there that we're asking people to sign as well. For the other organizations I'm a part of, it is Fix My Food South Africa, which is part of UNICEF. And then I'm also part of the South African Institute of International Affairs as the project lead for the South African Youth Gender Action Plan.
Awesome. Very good.
Great
Nice
stuff.
to have you on the show.
Great.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, very
You
good.
too.
Nice to have you too. You know, normally I'm very anti-activist. When someone calls themselves an activist, I'm like, oh, please. But she was quite cool.
She was.
I like her. She made some good points. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust these NGOs either.
No, you know what? Any person that can...
You know what? I trust my taste buds.
That's it. Any person... Any person that can spend 30 minutes talking to the two of us and not pull their hair out, they deserve genuinely.
Good point.
They deserve
good point. Well put.
Kudos. Mm-hmm.
I am hungry as hell after that conversation, aren't you?
I'm starving. Do you know what I feel like having, Gareth?
What?
Like a massive buffet style breakfast where I can
with the
select
sausages
whatever
and bacon,
sausage,
eggs.
bacon, cheese, like all of it. Just put it all together.
Mm.
Oh, and I over the
fry
weekend,
up.
it's so weird. Over the weekend, I was pigging out, man. This
Were
past
you?
weekend, woo, I had a lot
funny
of
thing
food.
with me is like I normally don't eat breakfast. I'll start eating at lunchtime.
Yeah.
But now after this conversation, I'm so goddamn hungry.
Yeah. We need some breakfast.
I think I'm gonna just have a black coffee and be quiet.
No, James, I think you should sponsor breakfast this morning. I like that idea.
Mm-mm. Very bad idea. Very bad idea. Okay, so just one last thing. Very important. That Dutch guy.
Yes, we have to.
Just to play us out this morning.
We have to do it.
This is have a day. Have just one day. Like this guy's whole life seems like it is.
Yes.
Just fun.
Make the decision.
In een warm land, hier op vakantie, he says, bakken in de zon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Here he is. This is just terrific. And we will be back on Friday, bright and early at 6 a.m. Don't miss it and keep warm.
Ik wil naar een warm land, even op vakantie. Lekker bakken in de zon, daarop wil ik garantie. Ik hou van lekker eten, dranken van de vrouwen. Ga ik naar dat landje waar ik zo van ben gaan houden. Ik wil naar een warm land, even op vakantie. Lekker bakken in de zon, daarop wil ik garantie.